How you guys doing? Hope everybody is having a good day. I am Space Noob. Thank you all for tuning in, those of you who are. We have a pretty exciting day today. We have our fifth mission, or fourth, I think I'm going to actually start calling it by what they're saying. So I'm going to leave out the initial first mission and just call it the fourth mission of the operational Starlink satellites. As you guys may or may not know, the Starlink satellites is going to be utilizing the Falcon 9 vehicle made by SpaceX. Starlink satellites are also a subsidy of SpaceX. So let's just go ahead and take a look at the press kit real quick. So today we have a mission lifting off at 10:05 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, or just about 45 minutes. And so they're calling it the fifth, but it's technically the fourth of the actual operational satellites. There's a backup launch opportunity tomorrow at around the same time, just a little earlier. Hopefully it launches today, though. We have a pretty high weather probability. So as this mission goes, it's a record setter in one case at least, and that's the turnaround time that they have for this booster. The turnaround time for this one, I believe, is 62 days, and the other, or 63 days, and the previous record was 72 days, and that was set in 2018. So for this mission, this is the fastest turnaround that SpaceX has ever had on one of their boosters, and this is going to be the fourth actual launch for this booster. In the other missions that it was responsible for, let me just pull up so I don't accidentally misspeak. The other missions that it was assisting were, man, I can't find it. Oh, CRS-17, CRS-18, and JCSat-18. So it's had a pretty eventful life. And it was right in front of me. I didn't even have to go to the other notes that I had. Good job. So yeah, following stage separation, we're going to see the booster attempt to land on the Of Course I Still Love You drone ship that is located out in the Atlantic Ocean, which we'll be taking a closer look at later. And then approximately 45 minutes after liftoff, we will see SpaceX attempt to catch two of the fairings. So far, they've only been able to catch one, as we saw on our last stream, but fingers crossed for even both of them catching, let alone just one, would still be pretty awesome to see. And the vessels trying to catch the fairings are going to be Go Miss Tree and Go Miss Chief. And then, yeah, so like the other satellite Starlink missions, we will see them deploy in an elliptical orbital plane approximately 15 minutes after liftoff. Is that true? Because that's pretty soon, if so. Maybe I'm reading something wrong? The Starlink satellites will deploy in an elliptical orbit. Okay, so maybe that's the second stage rising, doing its burn, but that's a little weird phrasing, I feel like. We'll see what ends up going on with that. Because usually they deploy about like 60 minutes after liftoff. Okay, yeah, that'll be interesting to see. And then, yeah, of course, after deployment, they're going to use their onboard ion testers to get to their desired altitude of 550 kilometers. This is pretty standard. I think they're using the same model satellites. There might be actually a couple differences, I would assume so, because Elon tweeted the other day that each successful Starlink launch will get less albedo, which is basically the light emitting from the satellite. So they are definitely changing each launch, But yeah, this is all pretty standard boilerplate at this point, which is getting pretty cool to say, if I might say so, because these launches are just getting pretty regular. This is now the fifth Starlink launch of a nearly identical payload for SpaceX, so it's going to be. I'm not going to get bored of these, and I hope that you guys aren't as we cover them throughout the years to come, because this is going to take some time for them to get their constellation that they're looking to have. And I mean, it's a continuing process, because they only last about 4 to 5 years each satellite. So by the time they actually maybe achieve their full 40,000 constellation status, they'll be at the point where they need to start replacing them. So this is gonna be a really launch heavy business for SpaceX, and hopefully by then we'll have Starship to aid in that, and we can launch. But I would assume it'd be probably 240 satellites per launch at least, probably even more. I was just going off the top of my head. But yeah, guys. Let's head over to the SpaceX subreddit so we can get some more information on this mission. We can see that the static void was completed on February 14th, which is this Friday. So the mass of all 60 is 15,600 kilograms. Let's see what this is. Yeah, okay, so they are talking about this. Pre-launch TLEs derived from SpaceX data are available. Okay. Okay. So it is still going to around the same injection orbit. It's going to 299 kilometers, but somehow it's getting there in 15 minutes versus an hour. This is really interesting. I wish I was a little more. I wish I could actually figure out the reasoning for this, because this is. I think it'll take longer to circularize the orbit with ion thrusters than raise an already circularized orbit. If I am right, it trades deployment time for energy provided to the payload. It trades deployment time for energy provided to the payload. Okay. That's useful for propellant-limited rideshare payloads like SkySat to be launched into a similar orbit in April along with Starlink satellites. I guess the upcoming launch will be practice for a new deployment strategy. Interesting. So SkySat is something that's going to be launched alongside Starlink? I thought they were utilizing like every bit of the Falcon 9 to get these to orbit. Okay, we should be back. Yeah, we should be good. Okay, cool. Alright, you guys. As I was saying, we are going to be attempting to catch both halves of the fairing, and the launch is going to be launching from Slick 40 at Cape Canaveral Air Force Station in Florida. And the landing of the booster is going to be attempted at the Of Course I Still Love You drone ship, which is 628 nautical miles downrange. Or kilometers, I'm sorry, kilometers, not nautical miles. So yeah, obviously the mission success criteria for this mission doesn't depend on landing the booster or catching the fairings. The only thing that they're really concerned about is the successful stage separation and the deployment of the Starlink satellites. So yeah, as you guys hopefully have seen, we have now launched 4 batches of 60 Starlink satellites, with this mission being the 5th. So we have a pretty exciting time. Really, this is going to be the entire constellation up to 300. So this is getting really big, really fast. The next Starlink launch that we have is expected to be on March 1st, so hopefully they stick to that. But we do have a couple other things coming up before that, like Launcher 1, which is also going to be really exciting. I'm excited to see that. This is going to be cool. The next mission is going to be launching LC-39A. So the stats for this mission, it's the 89th SpaceX launch, the 81st Falcon 9, 25th Falcon 9 Block 5, so that's pretty impressive. As I said earlier, the 5th or 4th flight of this booster, and it'll be the 50th landing of a Falcon first stage. So pretty cool launch, actually. We got a lot of things going on. The 25th launch of the Block 5 and the 50th landing, and the fastest turnaround time for a booster. Yeah, everything else is pretty nominal, pretty standard. Yeah, let's take it over to. I do want to check on the weather. The only thing that I think was a probability for the weather was, yeah. Okay, yeah. The only thing that I think they're actually monitoring closely is going to be those upper level winds, because the other weather, I'm pretty sure, is at a 90% favorability. But yeah, so this is going to be an excellent launch. Let's hop over to Twitter. This is what I wanted to show you. This guy is pretty awesome. At SpaceX Fleet, he tracks all of the SpaceX ships. Of course, I Still Love You, Go Miss Tree, Go Miss Chief. He's pretty awesome. Is that the VAB? Yeah, that's crazy. Tracking indicates that the Tug Hawk released Of Course I Still Love You from her tow about at 6:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time this morning. Wow, it has had a interesting couple days. Moderate risk for upper level winds. Hopefully it calms down. Oh, I don't have my things there. I should probably put those in. Oh, I don't have any of my actual. There we go. Are we still live? I gotta keep track of that. Yeah, we look like we're still good. Okay. There we go. Okay, so I have if you guys are also interested in my other channel, shameless plug, Coding with Alex. If you guys are interested in coding tutorials and software walkthroughs. But yeah, if you guys were seeing that, that was that. My other set for the Coding with Alex channel. But anyways, let's get back to the launch day previews. Yeah, we were supposed to have this rocket lift off on Saturday, but that got pushed back to apparently a valve issue on the second stage. Or no, I think it was weather on Saturday, and then Sunday the valve issue occurred. So now we're here on Monday. Let's take a look at the weather report. Winds decrease significantly overnight tonight and will remain light through early next week. Oh, this is Sunday morning. Do you have today's by chance? Doesn't appear so. Okay. Guess back to Reddit. Hopefully, let me actually pull up the SpaceX live stream because they should be going live quite soon. Yeah, we should only have about 11 more minutes until SpaceX goes live. T-minus 35 minutes, filling of the Falcon 9 rocket with super chilled, densified kerosene and liquid oxygen is underway at Cape Canaveral. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Let's actually, so we are about 25 minutes away from launch, so the next event is going to be the second stage liquid oxygen loading, and that's going to be just prior to the live stream kicking off. I'm actually gonna send out a tweet here right quick. I'm gonna leave you guys with that. But yeah, everything seems to be looking good. Let me take a look at SpaceX's Twitter. Oh, come on, retweet it. I thought you would have retweeted SpaceX. Still, nothing. That's a little strange. Usually they're not this quiet before. Oh well, hopefully everything that Spaceflight Now is reporting is accurate. I mean, I think he's also just going from the timeline on the press kit. I don't know if we have actual evidence of knowing whether that actually is occurring. I mean, it has to, because their launch window is opening and there hasn't been any call for a scrub yet, so I assume everything is still going according to plan, just as Spaceflight Now is. Yeah, the second stage valve component. That's quite interesting because, I mean, I guess that's one of the most probable scenarios for the valve to actually go wrong because the second stage is brand new, whereas the booster and most of the components with the first stage have been flown 4 times, or 3 times. Sorry, 3 times. This will be its 4th flight. Yeah, we knew from Friday though that we weren't going to be launching on Saturday. It was poor weather in the recovery area. But yeah, everything is looking pretty cool for Crew Dragon. Apparently, the capsule has arrived at the Cape. And from now on, I'm pretty sure it's all up to just some internal checks and then passing it off to NASA. That's going to be just an amazing, amazing achievement. I'm so excited for that launch. Hopefully, I think the tentative date that I've been reading is May 7th. If they stick to that, that'll be incredible. We'll be seeing astronauts launch from U.S. soil in less than 3 months. Again, astronauts launching from U.S. soil again in less than 3 months. Crew Dragon in Florida ahead of its flight to the International Space Station. Wonder when they... Are those the decals? Or... No, I don't... Because I was going to say, I wonder when they put the decals on and whatnot. Man, that thing is so cool looking, though. So excited. Yeah, as this is some of the testing that I was talking about. They've been running electromagnetic interference testing and then acoustic testing. A whole bunch of wacky stuff. Oh, these are the windows. That's what they were covering up. Oh, this is awesome. So I think these are the Dragon thrust, RCS thrust, not RCS thrusters. The Dragon thrusters that they use to maneuvering thrusters. That's what I'm looking for. And then these are the 2 windows. My gosh, that's amazing. Yeah, I can't either. It's going to be an incredible launch. An incredible launch. Okay, how are we looking? So 5 more minutes until SpaceX should go live. 4 more minutes until we have liquid oxygen loading on the second stage. I'm excited. I haven't covered a launch since the last Starlink launch, and there has been a couple good ones. The Solar Orbiter, that just went up aboard an Atlas 5, I believe. And then they had the Northrop Grumman Cygnus capsule go to the ISS just the other day after being scrubbed. That was a pretty beautiful launch as well. But yeah, it's been a pretty eventful year so far for spaceflight. Can't say that I have been disappointed. I'm hoping that we see a ramp up from SpaceX, honestly, but 2 launches a month is pretty par for the course, for lack of a better term. That would result in 24 launches per year, and I think their goal was 30 for this year, so we'll see what happens. Hopefully they do see a slight ramp up in launches, but of course, the reason for Sunday's launch, the valve component, we always want to make sure that safety is number 1 priority, and that scrub is always better than boom. I saw that as a reply to that tweet, actually. Scrub was always better than boom, and that's completely true. I'd much rather see that the rocket go up safely and a safe deploy of the payload rather than them trying to rush it and we have another disaster on our hands. The Falcon, and especially right before the crew mission, we want this Falcon to be in tip-top shape. It's just, with every launch that's gearing up to the crew mission, I feel like it's a little added pressure just to get to it. But I mean, I don't know. I guess with every test adding up to the DM2 is going to be, I guess, just more safety checks and another check in the reliability of the Falcon 9 Block 5 rocket, which is already quite reliable. I don't think we've had a single issue with the Block 5 rockets. But anyways, guys, we are getting quite close to liquid oxygen loading on the second stage. Just 2 more minutes and that should be underway. Let's just refresh this real quick. Keeping up to date with SpaceX, making sure that they are, in fact, not tweeting anything. So we're a little in the dark. The only thing that I think we can get our information from is actual people on the ground, which, according to Julia, is not that much. We can't even see if it's venting or anything, but what are we gonna do? Just a couple more minutes and we'll have SpaceX's live stream, so we'll have no more guessing to have to deal with. It is, I mean, maybe they themselves are getting bored with these launches and they're like, people don't need to know this information. Oh, the fog is clearing. Oh, awesome. Yeah, I don't know. I might have to get a American flag decal or something to add to the top of the fairing, because that looks very cool. Oh, awesome. The fog is, in fact, clearing. This is awesome. Just 1 more minute until SpaceX should be going live.
John Van Horn here on the Space Coast of Florida at the 401 launch viewing stands for SpaceX's Starlink.
It's going to be a great launch. Yeah, this was as of last night, so I was pretty worried, not going to lie. At about 7 Eastern Standard Time that we saw this picture from Everyday Astronaut showing us that the rocket was in fact horizontal. And usually I think they like to have it vertical for at least 12 hours before liftoff, so they didn't have too much time to get it vertical, but praise SpaceX in their ingenuity and the hard work of the team. But yeah, guys, just waiting on the SpaceX live stream. Should be coming in here any moment now. And when that does, I'll move over to there and try and pipe down for you guys. Oh yeah, Everyday Astronaut should be live too. He obviously is the GOAT, so I wouldn't be too upset if you went over and watched his stream. Maybe we could have rotated that, pal, but nice shot. I wish I was there. Can't be too salty. Alright, let me just get this tweet ready to go as well. Let's take another look at SpaceX. Make sure that we don't have any updates because the live stream. Oh boy, speaking of live streams, here we go, guys. just gonna turn this way down until we actually get somebody from SpaceX talking to us. But yeah, guys, we are looking good for this launch so far. I would assume, again, going off of not too much information other than that the rocket is in fact vertical on the pad. Excuse me. And the live stream has started. I mean, that's obviously a good sign. Yeah, let's keep on taking a look at Twitter, see what people are posting who are actually there. Oh boy, look at that venting. That's a sick picture. Is Starlink actually trending on Twitter, or is that just like Twitter knowing me and skewing my interests towards what's actually going on? Because that would be pretty cool if it's trending. Do we have any new pictures? I'm surprised we still have nothing from them. We're T-minus 5 or 10 minutes to liftoff. This is quite interesting, I'm not gonna lie. Keep an eye on SpaceX's Twitter if they're gonna post anything. I'm not gonna lie, oh boy. Here we go. Man, every time I doubt them, they just come through. I guess don't doubt SpaceX. That's the main takeaway from that.
It is 9:55 a.m. Eastern on February 17th, and you are looking at a live view of the Falcon 9 as it awaits its targeted 10:05 a.m. Eastern Time launch from Cape Canaveral Air Force Station in Florida. Happy Monday from SpaceX headquarters in Hawthorne, California. My name is Lauren Lyons, and I'm an engineer on the Starlink team here at SpaceX, and welcome to our live webcast of our 5th Starlink mission. Today's mission will be the fourth flight of the booster that you see on your screen. Most recently, it flew back on December 16th, which represents our quickest booster turnaround to date. And if this launch goes as planned, it will mark SpaceX's 80th successful launch and 50th successful landing. On top of that, we will again be attempting to catch both fairing halves with our recovery vessels, Miss Tree and Miss Chief. Now, we've got a shorter mission duration today, so we won't see those views live on the webcast, but we'll push out an update one way or another after the fairing has made its way back to Earth. We are continuing to count down to liftoff, but if for some reason we have to call a hold on today's launch, we do have a backup opportunity tomorrow, Tuesday, February 18th at 9:42 a.m. Eastern. But at this time, all systems are go for an on-time liftoff.
My name is Jesse Anderson, and I'm a lead manufacturing engineer here at SpaceX. As Lauren mentioned, today's mission will be shorter than previous Starlink missions, and that's because we are executing a direct inject of the Starlink satellites into an elliptical or oval-shaped orbit. In prior Starlink missions, we deployed the satellites into a 290-kilometer circular orbit, which required 2 burns of the Merlin vacuum engine on the second stage. Keep in mind the stack of 60 Starlink satellites combined is one of the heaviest payloads we fly, so putting them directly into this orbit requires more vehicle performance and makes recovery more challenging. Going forward, and starting with today, we will deploy the satellites shortly after the first burn of the second stage, putting the Starlink satellites into an elliptical orbit. Once checkouts are complete, the satellites will then use their onboard ion thrusters to move into their intended orbits, an operational altitude of 550 kilometers. With this change, our webcast runtime will be a little bit shorter. We'll wrap up just after deployment at T plus 15 minutes or so. The Falcon 9 that you see on the pad there has been loading propellants since T minus 35 minutes, and as a reminder, we use a rocket-grade kerosene, or RP1, and super chilled liquid oxygen, or LOX, to power the Falcon 9. Currently, our RP1 is nearly fully loaded on the first stage, which is the bottom 2/3 of the vehicle that you see there on your screen, and that top 1/3 is our second stage, and at this time, the second stage is fully fueled with RP1. LOX loading is underway on both stages, and will continue to be topped off right until the last minute of the countdown. The stack of 60 satellites is safely enclosed inside of the 17-foot diameter payload fairing, and there you can see on your screen is the flat stacked satellites. There is the fairing at the top of the vehicle, that pointed enclosure there. And once we reach the vacuum of space, we will deploy the fairing as the second stage continues on its way to its final orbit. As for weather, we had some rough weather over the weekend, but so far today, weather is looking good for an on-time launch. We will continue to monitor this all the way down to T-0. The Air Force range is prepared to support today's mission. So with that, the vehicle, satellites, weather, and range are all looking good for an on-time liftoff just a few minutes from now.
As I mentioned at the top of the webcast, today's launch will be the fourth flight of this particular Falcon 9 booster. This booster previously flew on a Dragon resupply mission, CRS-17, which flew to the space station in May of 2019, followed by CRS-18 in July 2019, and most recently a commercial satellite launch on December 17th, 2019. It's been just under 8 weeks since that booster returned, which makes this our fastest turnaround to date. Long term, we hope to continue to drive that turnaround time down even further, with rocket launches looking more similar to commercial air travel, where the planes get basic checkouts, they get refueled, and then they head right back out. SpaceX successfully landed its first booster back in December 2015 after a long series of attempts with various endings, some more spectacular than others. And if we land today's booster, it will mark our 50th successful landing. It's really crazy to think just how much has changed in only 5 years. Our drone ship, Of Course I Still Love You, is currently stationed 350 miles off the coast of Florida, waiting for what will be the fourth landing of this booster. Just as we had to work through a lot of trial and error with booster recovery, we're now engaging in that same process for fairing recovery. To date, we have caught 3 fairing halves with our recovery vessels and fished a number of others out of the water, and we'll continue pushing forward with this effort with the goal of hopefully making this as routine as our rocket landings.
We are currently just over 4 minutes from liftoff. Falcon 9 is now moving into the final stages of the countdown. At T-7 minutes, engine chill began. This is where we allow a small amount of the super chilled liquid oxygen to flow into the Merlin engine turbo pumps prior to the full flow of liquid oxygen into the vehicle, and that's to avoid any shocks to the system. Liquid oxygen is also what's creating those white clouds around Falcon 9, as you can see on your screen. We continue to load super chilled liquid oxygen or LOX into the stage until just before liftoff. And when that super chilled LOX comes in contact with the ambient air around it, it creates those clouds surrounding the vehicle that you can see right there. At T-minus 3.5 minutes, the transporter erector has already moved away from the rocket slightly, and this allows some clearance for Falcon 9 to lift off of our launch pad. The first and second stages are both nearly fully loaded with 1 million pounds of kerosene fuel and liquid oxygen. First stage should finish prop loading at T-minus 3 minutes, and second stage at T-minus 2 minutes. At T-minus 60 seconds, be sure to listen in for the call out that Falcon 9 is in startup. This means that the rocket's autonomous internal flight computers have taken over the launch countdown. The Starlink payload continues to be healthy. The Falcon 9 team is tracking no issues on the rocket. Weather is looking good, and the range is green for launch. So let's listen into the last few minutes of the countdown.
T-minus 2 minutes, guys.
H2 lock right closed down.
My fog sure cleared up. Just more of that venting coming from the Falcon. Here we go, guys. It's the best call out. Other than ignition.
Falcon 9, startup.
Loving the shirt. Thanks, Michaela Santorino.
LD is go for launch.
T-minus 30 seconds. T-minus 15 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition, liftoff.
Falcon 9's pitching downrange. Stage 1 propulsion phenomenal. Power and telemetry nominal.
It is T plus 47 seconds, and we have just had liftoff of our Falcon 9 vehicle, taking our Starlink payload to its targeted orbit. In about 15 seconds or so, we will be passing through max Q. Max Q is the maximum aerodynamic pressure that the vehicle will see throughout its
Falcon 9
ascent.
is supersonic.
You should hear that call out in
I
about
like
5
seeing
seconds
the
or so.
supersonic cloud. I didn't get to see it.
Falcon 9 is experiencing maximum aerodynamic pressure.
And there's that call out for max Q. Coming up next in about a minute will be 3 events happening in rapid succession. The first of which will be MECO, or main engine cutoff, followed immediately by stage separation, and this is where the first stage separates from the second stage, and then followed by SES-1, or second engine start 1.
MVAC engine chill.
And you can see on your screen, this is a nice live view looking aft on the vehicle, so you can see those Merlin engines burning real bright right now with Earth in the background.
The exhaust plume is just getting wider and wider. Why are we in potato?
And we're just about 30 seconds away. If you're just now joining us, the next 3 events coming up will be MECO, or main engine cutoff, stage separation, and SES-1, second engine start 1.
It's beautiful.
And as we mentioned, today we will only be having 1 burn of the second stage.
MECO.
Stage separation confirmed.
And there we've just had MECO,
Acquisition
main engine
Bermuda.
cutoff, and stage separation,
And ignition.
Oh my god.
and
yeah.
second engine start 1
Oh
on your
my
right
gosh,
screen.
on that left side.
That engine is starting up and should be turning bright red shortly here.
That was beautiful.
There it is. Now coming up in about 5 seconds, we will have fairing deploy. Should also be able to see this on your screen.
Fairing separation confirmed.
And there is fairing deploy. Now both fairing halves are making their way back to Earth. Let's hope that we can catch both of them today on
Stage
Miss
2 is
Tree
on
and Miss
nominal
Chief.
trajectory.
Like I said, guys, these launches are getting real routine. They're getting really good at this. Let's see how they do with these fairings and with the booster. I mean, I'm pretty confident in the booster, but I'm excited to see how they do with the fairings.
Okay, stage 2 continues to burn nominally with those 60 Starlink satellites up on
See
top,
these chunks
while
of ice
stage
over
1 begins its descent down to the drone ship. So coming up very soon, we're going to have a few events on stage 1. The first is the entry burn. That's coming at up about T plus 6 minutes and 48 seconds or so. That's where 3 of the M1D engines are going to reignite. And what they do is they slow the first stage down as it re-enters the upper part of the Earth's atmosphere. That burn's going to go for about 20 seconds until you hear the call out, stage 1 entry burn end. About a minute and a half after the conclusion of that entry burn will be the landing burn. Now that's where we reignite the center E9 engine on the bottom of Falcon 9 on that first stage. And what that does is then it slows the vehicle down to 0 velocity as those landing legs are deploying and hopefully placing this stage on the drone ship for the 4th time and hopefully marking the 50th successful landing of a Falcon 9 booster. Stage 2 trajectory continues to be nominal. We're hearing that MVAC power is good, and everything is looking really awesome.
Excellent.
Stage 2 is burning with more than 210 1,000 pounds of thrust. And the 60 satellites that are on top of that second stage are going to join the previous batches of Starlink satellites already in orbit, further filling in our constellation, which gets us another step closer to providing high-speed, low-latency internet access to people on that beautiful blue planet right there, targeting places where broadband connectivity options like fiber are too expensive or unreliable or even sometimes completely unavailable. We're about 15 seconds away from that entry burn. Hopefully we'll see that plume on the left side of the screen there.
We're getting some great shots. Earth is looking magnificent. You can see the RCS thrusters on the booster.
Stage 1 FTS is safed.
Stage 1 entry burn has started.
And as you can see, that entry burn has begun.
Fairing vessels have AOS.
You can see that the plasma
We
created
lost
by
the downlink
entry
there
burn
just for a second, but hopefully we'll get it right back soon.
causes the downlink to be interrupted. The plasma is also literally protecting the
And stage
vehicle.
1 entry burn is shut down.
All right, and as you just heard, that entry burn has concluded, and I'm also hearing that it was a pretty good one.
I would hope so.
So coming up
First
next,
stage LOS expected.
coming up next for stage 1, in just under a minute, is going to be the start of the landing burn. This will be, if successful, the 50th successful landing of a booster, of a Falcon booster, not necessarily a Falcon 9. We've landed boosters for Falcon Heavy as well, and this counts as one of those. Okay, we're a little over 10 seconds away from that landing burn start. Meanwhile, stage 2 continues
Stage
to
2 is
perform
enter
normally.
terminal guidance.
Stage 1 landing burn has started.
Oh boy, guys, here we go.
All right, let's see what we can see here on the left side of the screen. It's a beautiful day out there.
Here we go, guys.
Landing legs have deployed.
Oh shit. Oh shit, what's all that smoke, guys? Oh shit. Oh boy.
MVAC shut down.
Uh-oh.
Okay, we were
Stage 2
expecting
FTS is saved.
we were expecting the
Oh,
call out for
no.
landing, and we obviously didn't see it there on the drone ship. So
Oh,
let's
no.
look back at stage 2.
Geez.
Somewhere in DOS.
And we clearly did not make the landing this time.
Darn.
However, stage 2, we have confirmed SECO, which is second engine cutoff. Let's listen for the call out of the orbit.
Damn, rest in peace. Booster 1056.
Cape LOS expected.
And we have a good
Nominal
orbit.
mobilization of stage 2.
All right, now stage 2 is going to coast in this orbit for a few minutes, and during this time, it'll start to spin along its central axis, which gives the Starlink satellites the momentum that they need to space themselves out over time after they deploy. So we're going to take a really quick break here and then return at T plus 13 minutes and 45 seconds.
Oh, wow, guys. As we said at the beginning of this live stream, the mission critical success parameters are only that the satellites deploy and we have a successful stage separation. We already have had successful stage separation, so the next event is going to be the deploy of the satellites via the tension arms. It's just it's it's cool to see it, but in any case, rest in peace, Booster 1056. You served us well on your 4th launch. That's quite sad, but hopefully maybe we can make up for it in the fairing catches. That would be quite the achievement, and it would also be a proper send-off to the booster. Man, that was a little... I didn't... Because usually you could see like the plasma from the landing burn coming in on the drone ship before like they even say landing legs deployed, but yeah, that's unfortunate. Yeah, but I mean, we just gotta, like I said, keep our heads up. It was the 4th time that booster has flown. I think SpaceX has hopefully gotten their money out of it. Just sad to see any space hardware get destroyed. Maybe it had a gentle landing and they can fish it out, but we'll be surprised. That'll be quite the achievement. I doubt it'll be flown again. But yeah, guys, moving on, keeping our heads up, we can continue looking at the mission, which usually we would have a pretty long time, 45 minutes from now, to wait until we actually deploy the Starlink satellites. But like I said, and we heard earlier in the stream, they're deploying these satellites to an elliptic orbit rather than a circular orbit. So that requires them to really use the performance of both the first stage and the second stage, even though they're only doing one burn for the second stage. It's still a pretty significant one, and it really did push the first stage, as we saw. I don't know, I'm just a little disappointed. I'm not even going to try and hide it. They've really had their stride going with these booster landings, and this is the first one in a long time that they haven't landed.
Welcome back to the webcast.
Alright, cool.
Those of you who follow Starlink missions, you know our satellites are flat packed, so there's no dispenser. So what you'll see at deployment is the satellites all clustered together. Once separated from the second stage, they will slowly disperse from one another, and in the days and weeks that come, deploy their solar array, use their onboard ion propulsion system to raise and circularize their orbit, and start beaming down broadband internet to Starlink engineers to test performance. Once the satellites have been deployed, the second stage will conduct a passivation maneuver and be safely deorbited within months. We should be coming up on that deployment of the Starlink satellites in just a few moments here, in about 15 seconds or so. And we should be able to see that live. What you're looking at is those flat-packed satellites right there on your screen.
Let's see if we actually get the view of them releasing the tension arm. Usually they cut it out, or it cuts out. We'll see.
We lost that live view, but it should be coming back here shortly.
Mm-hmm.
Starlink tension rod separation confirmed.
Yeah, they don't want
And
us
as
to see
you
it.
heard, the tension rod separation has been confirmed. So our payload should be deploying shortly here. And there it goes. Another round of satellites out in space. So with that, that brings our webcast to a close. We had an on-time liftoff this morning, a good stage separation. First stage made its way back to Earth. Unfortunately, we did not land the first stage on our drone ship, but it did make a soft landing on the water right next to the drone ship, so it does look like it might be in one piece. Again, that is our secondary mission, so we will try again next time. Our primary mission is now complete. Our Starlink satellites are in their targeted orbit and will be making their way to their final orbit using their onboard thrusters. So thank you to the 45th Space Wing for range safety and the FAA for licensing today's launch, as well as the FCC.
We'd also like to thank you guys, all of our viewers, for tuning in. You can follow our website and social media platform for updates on Stage 1. You can also follow for updates on the fairing catches and our next missions and milestones. Have a great day, and we'll see you next time.
Excellent, guys. As you guys heard, successful primary mission, unsuccessful secondary mission, and landing the first stage. We shall see how the fairing catches go. Make sure to follow me on Twitter, and also check for SpaceX for updates on that. As for the next launch that I will be streaming, it is most likely going to be the Launcher 1 from Virgin 1. That's going to be a pretty exciting launch. Until then, guys, make sure, again, like I said, to subscribe, turn on notifications, follow me on Twitter for all kinds of updates and cool pictures. And I will see you guys next time.